Right to be Read podcast, episode number 40. Interview with James aka Humble Nations.
You are listening to the Right to be Read podcast, and this is your host, Ani Alexander.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Right to be Read podcast, the podcast that inspires and encourages writers. I'm your host, Ani Alexander, and today we're not going to talk so much about writing, but rather we will cover the topic of design, and specifically book cover design. So, as many people already mentioned during our interviews, the first two things that we need to do after completing the book is editing it and then getting the book cover. If your budget is not tight, then you can hire a designer and get a customized and professional solution for your book, and the designer will create cover just for your book. But what if you can't afford it because it's quite expensive? Well, even then, I would not recommend doing it yourself or going to Fiverr.com. I think the pre-designed book covers may be a good solution for that case. I made some research and came up with a list of websites where you can find professional and affordable book covers. I've created a free PDF with all the links and other details such as the price range, book genre, etc. You can get the free PDF I created for you by going to www.anialexander.com/40. So, if you want to find out about many different options of book covers which are very professional and which are quite affordable, you just go to www.anialexander.com/40, download the PDF where you get all the options and surf and hopefully find the cover for your... Okay, and since from that PDF that I created, I personally have a preference, and that's a Go On Write website, I thought that it would be nice to talk to the person who's behind it. That is why today I'm interviewing James aka Humble Nations aka C.L. Smith. He's the guy that makes all the book cover designs and runs the book pre-designed cover websites Go On Write and Humble Nations. He's been a freelance graphic designer for the last 20 years, and he's been designing book covers for the last couple of years. In this interview, James shares his views on book cover design, explains how he is creating those, and what helps him stay productive. We cover much more, of course, so just tune in to the interview and have fun. I read on your website that you've been freelance designer since 25 years. Did you work before in the office? And if you did, how did you realize you were not an office rat and you wanted freedom?
The expression I would use is probably wage slave. Well, that's just the one that I use and my friends use. I guess... I don't know if it has been 25 years. I've done a few other things. I worked with a photographer for a while as his designer. He now lives in Australia. And I guess the moment that I realised that I wasn't cut out for working in an office and working for other people, and I guess other people making money out of me rather than me getting the rewards for the sweat of my own brow, was my first job. And when I lost that job, and therein lies a long anecdote which I won't go into, I just said to myself, and I must have been about maybe 23, 24 at the time, just said to myself, I'm never going to work again. I don't like it. Like I did 3.5 years for the first company I ever worked for, and I just went, no, that's not for me. I don't like working. Doesn't work like getting up at 9 o'clock. No, thank you.
Okay, well, yeah, you were from those fortunate ones who realized that quite early, actually, because many people end up getting to that point when they are around 40 or something like that. So you saved a lot of time, I guess.
Well, yeah, in a way, yeah. But then I look at somebody like my father and mother, and my dad's just retired about 5 years ago, and he kind of worked all his life for his retirement, and he's really enjoying it. So there is advantages to owning the company, but I guess if we're talking about people that are sort of doing their own stuff, their own writing on Kindle or whatever, and just publishing for themselves, then I don't know, a good way to look at it that I always think is like, all you need to work out is how to get money out of somebody else's pocket into your pocket. It's that simple. It's not very complicated work for yourself. You just need to have, and I guess that goes the same for writers as it does for anybody in the kind of service industries. And I think I met a guy called David, an Irish guy. I don't know his full name, so but he lives in Prague, and he was kind of around my age, and he kind of had like quite a sensible sort of attitude to self-publishing. He was a writer, but then he was also making money doing the lecture circuit about how to self-publish as well. So he was actually making money out of the service industry side of it. And I think it's kind of like quite interesting that there's an editor that I speak to as well, and we're all pretty much a little bit of the same mind. It's the people who are really making money out the Kindle phenomenon are the people in the service who servicing the authors rather than the authors themselves. I think it takes a certain age and maturity to actually look at it business wise in a business mind. You've got to have. It's not as simple as just having sort of an open thing of like, I'm going to write a book and make money. It's and market it, and then it'll all be fine, because there is a business aspect, I guess. And my girlfriend, she says that I'm not a graphic designer. She says that I'm a businessman.
Well, I think everyone should look at it as a business if they want to make money, because, writers consider themselves artists, but, they are businessmen as well.
I don't think they do. I think that's a misnomer. I don't think very many of the people that I deal with sort of truly consider themselves artists. I would say and we had this discussion with David. I will find you his name out before the end of this so I can plug him, because he's a cool guy. But we had this discussion. Like, I write, I consider my writing like art. I don't want to make any money out of it. I know it's not of interest to other people. And we were having this conversation about the way that publishing houses, literary books with artistic merit, don't sell in big numbers. They just don't sell. They don't actually make money. The only way to make half decent money is A, write a lot of books, and B, win quite a few prizes, and then you make money as an actual author, and then work for newspapers and do other work. There's no money in art, basically, when it comes to writing, and it's actually the genre fiction that sells well that actually props up literary fiction. So this thing of like writing and art.
So can we say that you're making book covers for writers for money, and you're writing for yourself and yourself?
I guess so, but I don't have any time to do my own writing, so I'm just doing the book covers. But then I kind of have like I'm not as mercenary as just right. I do book covers and I make money for it. I mean, there is kind of like, my kind of attitude is, stack them high and sell them cheap. But there is a benefit to that. There is like a thing where somebody might have written something. There's basically three types of covers you can get. You can do it yourself and it'll be rubbish. Because if you're a good writer and you're a good designer, then people are far and few between. There's only the only people I know that can do that is me. That's a joke, by the way. I'm not very good at writing. So there's that. People make their own covers, and that's a problem, because people go and they'll look at that cover and go, looks amateur. The writing's going to be amateur. I'm not even going to bother. Then you've got cheap and cheerful, which is me, which is like, I'll have something that looks professional. It's not the best thing in the world, but it does the job. It looks professional, but it's not. Then you've got people like, there's a guy called, there's Scarlett Rutger, who's a really good designer. I used to chat to her a bit on Kindle boards. And there's a guy called Damos or something. He's really good as well. And that's kind of like sort of professional standard, like their covers would look good on
So what are they charging? Like several thousands, I guess?
No, they kind of coming at a reasonable price. I think it's like sort of around 600, 700, 800 sort of.
Okay.
So it is that thing that like my cover does a job. It fulfills a a really good purpose because it is that level of, right, okay, yeah, job done, it looks professional. Some of my covers that end up on my pre-mades are of that quality that's like, oh, that looks like that looks amazing. There is some of mine that are amazing, and the amazing ones always sell out really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of them that's just me churning them out, and then people grab them, works for their particular thing, and then maybe if their book gets really popular, they'll change that cover. But then you get like authors that go, oh, well, that cover worked for me, and then they see the cover as a bit of a talisman for like the sales.
Interesting.
I don't know. There's kind of that aspect that the marketing sometimes becomes more important than what the actual book is. And the book's probably done well because it's probably a nicely written book that people have recommended other people to read that book. I would say so more than the cover.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, people judge books by their covers, especially now when you have this Amazon page and you see the thumbnails of very small images, and you end up instinctively getting attracted to whatever is brighter or whatever is nicer, and only then you click to see what the book is about. So now having a decent cover, at least a decent one, is very important, I guess. So how did you end up deciding to design covers specifically? I mean, what kind of clients are writers? Are there more difficult clients, or it's fun to work with them? How is it?
Well, the reason I'm doing book covers now is a really like odd kind of story, because I was just doing commercial design, basically whatever anybody came and asked me to design, I'd do. So I was doing websites, brochures, like adverts. I was doing stuff for people at work who was selling on eBay, which is depressing. And kind of what happened is that I had an ex-girlfriend. This is a girlfriend from when I first started to her first romances. She wasn't my first romance, but it was like I was like 18 or 19. And I kind of kept a little bit in touch with her. And she's from back home in the northeast. And then she was actually an artist. She was a really good artist. She was a good painter, and she wrote as well. And she become an actress after that. But she was kind of a troubled character. And in the end, like, she threw herself off a cliff and killed herself, like, on her 40th birthday. Which was kind of odd. It was something that just like impacted me on my life, even though I'd not really spoken to her in quite a number of years. I don't know, it kind of impacted me because it's sort of like the death of innocence in a way, and I'm kind of going through bit of a midlife crisis at the time. It kind of affected me quite a lot. So I went into a bit of a depression. So I was kind of in a depression for about 6 months. All I did was play Minecraft and kind of avoided my work. And I was kind of a little bit down a hole quite a while, yeah, with that. It was kind of bad. And then what happened is that when I was doing that in my dark depression, I was doing a bit of writing. So like, I'm in a dark place, I write something cathartic or whatever. So I was kind of getting back into my writing, and then I started to do a little bit of investigation around like, oh, where's everybody chatting about writing? And then went to, I think it was the KDP forums, the like proper Amazon KDP forums, and was on there for a while. But then I was chatting with quite a few people on there about design, just about design, because I designed. And they were like, oh, that's really good. Like, that's kind of interesting. And I think I even redesigned a few people's covers for free, just like, oh, I'll do a few bits and pieces. And then there was a woman called Jennifer Alvarez. And she turned around to me and she said to me, your advice is really good. I really like your advice. You should write an article. So I sat down and wrote this article, which was just 14 points for like better, like book cover design. I've actually sat down and looked at that recently because I'm revisiting it like 2 years later, and I'm going to rewrite it with stuff I've learned and I've experienced in the sort of interim period. So then I wrote that article and put that article up on my blog. My blog was meant to be only for my writing, but then it was a bit about book covers. And then there was another woman that came in, and it was called Swanson, Nancy Swanson, Nicola Swanson, this old woman who lived in sort of like Wisconsin or Massachusetts, somewhere kind of called like wilderness remote. She was like retired, And she asked me to do work for like her husband's books, and she was lovely. And I ended up chatting to her quite a lot just as a person. So it was kind of these two American women that kind of made me think like, wow, like it's maybe something I could do to design covers. And at the time I was getting working commercially, but I wasn't doing the work. And they were just coming back to me going, oh, you haven't done my work, you haven't done my work. And I was depressed, I couldn't face it. So that kind of went on for about 3 or 4 months of me kind of slowly moving over to book covers. And book covers, I was kind of enjoying it. Kind of got me back working and kind of lifted me out of my depression. And then I just couldn't face doing commercial work. And because I couldn't face commercial work, I couldn't face any of the clients, I just went, right, well, I've got to make the book covers thing work. So I just got my head down and started to do lots of book covers. It's that simple. That's like 2 years ago.
So for 2 years, you're doing book covers only.
Yeah, a bit of a long story there, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just, I'm trying to imagine, like, okay, you know, if I'm writing a book, I know what the book is about, and I can brief the designer what I want, at least how I imagine it approximately. And then based on the story, the designer can imagine it himself as well. But when you're doing a pre-made cover, what makes you imagine those covers? I mean, where do you get the ideas from?
It doesn't work in that way. In terms of pre-made covers, it's almost like the complete opposite to the nth degree as well, because what I'll do is I'll go, right, stock images, I need to find some stock images. That's the basis of the cover. So I'll go sexy lady in the search bar, and all these sexy ladies pop up, and I'm like, which sexy lady shall I select today? So I go, oh, I'll have a little bit of her, and I'll have a little bit of her, and I'll download all those images, and then those images sit there until I design the covers, and I'll sit down and even at that stage it sounds horrible, but I might go, do you know what, I don't like you anymore, and just not even use that image. So it's kind of searching for the right images to start off with, and then going through and creating the covers. And then when I'm sat there making the covers, you see, when I was doing pre-made covers, it was not like I was the first person or anything. I kind of stole somebody else's idea, but fair enough. But people were putting author name, book title onto the cover, and I just thought that doesn't work for me. It's not good marketing, because it doesn't give you a sense of how the cover could be used or whether it's a real cover. It just kind of felt like a template, which is not right. It needs to have some sort of life to it. So I thought, well, I'm going to put proper titles on mine. So then when I sit there and design them, I'll go, ooh, what's this book about, James? And I think it's about this. So we'll put this title there. Make up a name. And some of my titles are funny. Some people find the funny ones. A lot of people miss them, but there's some funny ones there. When I'm bored, I'll do a funny title. But actually, I probably get, and this is me saying to the nth degree that it's the opposite way around, I probably get like 5% of the covers I sell keep the title.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
So authors are going, that has a story in my head about that particular cover. I want to use that cover and write that particular story. So, which is it's infinitely flattering. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. So you're selling pre-made covers and book ideas at the same time.
I guess so. I don't charge extra for the ideas. So.
Yeah, amazing. And well, that's the difference of doing the work and doing something you enjoy, because I have a feeling that with book covers you feel quite comfortable and you enjoy what you're doing. Basically, it's
of course it's fantastic. Like, I mean, before when I was doing like commercial work, dull like you wouldn't believe. So I was doing like eBay like template work for people who sold like television wall brackets, like the wall brackets that you mount a flat screen TV on, right? So I get one job for one of them. I design the template for them so they can use to sell it on eBay. Very dull. So somebody else sees that I've done that design and comes to me and says, "Oh, I do wall brackets as well. Can you do a wall bracket one for me?" I'm like, "Okay, right, fine." So then what happens is I ended up going through these little veins of sort of work. I had like car parts, like furniture, hair extensions was another one. I did quite a lot of hair extension work. And the other thing also is that when you're looking at like websites and eBay templates and stuff, it's coding work, which is just dull coding. So I can code HTML, but that's about it. But it's still a little bit of JavaScript, but then it's like, no, it's boring. It is something that I really enjoy. Yeah, book covers. My life's perfect now.
But I guess you had to go through those experiences in order to understand how nice your life is now.
I guess so. I've had ups and downs, but everybody does in their life. I don't know how long it's going to last, the book covers thing. But I kind of have a good sense that.
Do you see any specific trend on what kind of covers are most popular on your site?
Yeah. I mean, I design to. There is a certain thing where I design to the trends of what's going on, and people go, "Oh, I want this," and then sometimes people. Like, I'll design some randomly, and then these ones will sell really quick. Right, I've got to do more of them. So yeah, I mean, it's odd because I don't know. There's sort of there's two ways of looking at like cover design. There's two sides of the fence, and you've got stick with the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with the genre. So this has to look like the genre cover. It has to be the genre. It has to have this sort of cover. Otherwise, readers won't get to know blah 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 blah. And there's that. And I guess pre-made is pretty much that. It's pretty much 80%. I'll do that because that seems to be the overriding thought behind it. There isn't any sort of daringness in where they go. But then if something defies genre, but it's still sort of with the genre in a way, it's still sort of that vibe. Like, it's a horror cover, you can tell it's a horror cover, but it's not in black. Like, to me personally, I prefer that. I prefer something that subverts the genre. Subverting the genre is always like more interesting to me, but it's not as sellable. People don't want that. So kind of, I have my own natural balance of what I actually like to design and what I know will sell. Because if I just design what I like to design, then I wouldn't live in the manner that I am accustomed to.
Okay, so it's like your writing, what you enjoy writing is not selling well, and what you enjoy putting on the covers doesn't sell well either.
But I didn't say my writing wasn't selling well. My writing's selling fantastically. I don't charge for it.
Okay. Okay.
People download it. So
let's say someone doesn't understand like very well about the design and the cover design, but they still sense, which covers look professional and which ones have been done by the writer and look ugly, let's say. What is that something that differentiates those two? I mean, because I can differentiate them, but I can't put my finger on, why are they so different?
Well, I could tell you all that, but then it'd be giving away my secrets.
Oh, okay. No. So there is a secret there.
No, I'm joking. Good design's good design, and basically, good design is really simple. It comes down to some very, very basic things. And it's, as such, they are probably rules, but it takes a long time to master the simple rules. And I guess the first thing that, you see, I never went to design school or anything like that. I went to university to do computer science and I'm a dropout. But I kind of drew, like when other kids were playing football, I drew when I was like 5 years old. In fact, I've got a box of all my drawings from when I was a kid. My dad gave them. Oh, we're clearing out the loft. Here's your drawings. I'm like, yes. I didn't know you even still kept them. And it's kind of, so I always go off on a tangent. So basically, good design is just balance. That's all it is. Simply, it's balance. Now, so my kind of made up term for it is like a visual index. Like a cover has to have a visual index. And what that means is your eye looks at one thing first, the next thing second, the third thing third, fourth thing fourth. That's it. It's that simple. So the ways you can achieve that is with the size of something or the color of something or how defined something is, how much detail it has in it, or how blurry something is. So as long as you've got some sort of index where your eye's drawn to this bit first, second, third, fourth, fine. It's good design. And it works. Kindle covers that always look terrible is that everybody's been fed this lie that the text needs to be really big on the page, and that kind of gets passed around a lot because it's a small thumbnail. The text has to be big. Somebody has to read it. Now, I don't believe that for a second. I don't think it is relevant at all that it has to be big. It can be, but what you can't do is have a big shouty text and a big shouty picture because the eye goes, oh, which do I look at first? And your eye becomes confused. Your brain's going, what am I meant to be looking at here? So it's a little bit like that. It's kind of always the mistake. And people's like lack of being able to use colour properly as well always is a factor where like there'll be so many competing colours that your eye doesn't know where to look. Like eyes going like, oh, too much red, blue, green, yellow, purple all at once. And that's it. Well, even with just in a photo, sometimes you've got to pull the colour out of a photo. So I will, with all my photos that I do my pre-made covers, I'll sit there and mess about with the colours quickly to get the colours right so it kind of balances for my eyes. So that's it's kind of that. It's balance. That's the difference between good design and bad design. And then I guess the other thing is the quality of source that you're using. If you're using free fonts, forget about it. If you're using like crappy photos to start off with, forget about it. You're on a loser. You need to use like the one that always makes me laugh is you've got what's quite popular in certain genres of literature is what's called small cap fonts. And a small cap font is where you'll have everything in uppercase, but if you do the capital letter, it's larger. So it's all uppercase, but one letter's larger. And then what they'll do to make the first letter larger, they'll just increase that letter. Now, increasing that letter makes the font unbalanced because if you can imagine the width of the lines, like on a capital A, will get thicker. So it just looks wrong. It's imbalanced and badly designed fonts. You can get commercial fonts on the internet if you look in the right places.
Okay, so if someone is a completely newbie writer, he doesn't know anything about self-publishing, he writes a book and then he realizes that he has to get a cover because he can't do it himself. What he should be looking at? Because I mean, there is a thing like, okay, I like this cover or I don't like this cover, or this is, okay for my book. It can be relevant to my book or it can't. But what are the things he should pay attention to before deciding which cover to choose?
I don't care. It's like, I kind of have a non-interference policy. I don't interfere with titles, even if there's bad grammar in the titles, I don't touch that. If people come to me and say, I've got this type of book, which sort of cover do you think I should use? I don't get involved in that. I have a complete non-interference policy when it comes to that. And the reason being is that I am a helpful person now. And I either let the floodgates of me being helpful to other people, and go, maybe they'll come through to me and go, I want this cover, this is my title. And I go, I'll go have a look because I actually think there's a better cover for you. I either do that or I don't. I can either just go, right, I've got a policy of non-interference, or I'm helpful and I would never have any time to do anything because I'd just be helpful all the time. So it's like, I wouldn't have designed 5,500 covers in the last 2 years if I didn't just go, pick your cover. And even what happens with some writers, they will go, right, I bought this cover, didn't work for me, come back to me, I'm going to buy the second cover, see if that one works better for me for my marketing. Sometimes the covers are completely different as well, but that happens. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's fine. It's fair enough. It's 20 quid, or $40 or whatever, like however much it is. It's like, it's for to test and see.
You did so many covers up to now in a short period of 2 years. What keeps you being so productive and staying inspired? What helps you work so much?
Alcohol.
Alcohol only?
Yeah. I just think of all the nice booze I could buy with the money.
Okay, so it's the motivation.
No. I kind of had this in terms of actual work, I've kind of got the whole system that how I work into it's kind of a little bit of I've perfected it over the last 2 years. So it's quite an efficient. There's quite a lot of stages to making a cover, but they happen in very distinct stages, almost like when Henry T. Ford decided that that's how you build a car and you put it in a production line. I have a production line mentality, which kind of I'm always looking for the little bit more efficiency I can get out of building the cover so I can do a lot. In terms of I'm comfortable. I sit in my pajamas and work. I've got the best music. I sit there and smoke in my workplace. I'm in a comfortable place in my life. So I've got a good monitor, and I don't know, that kind of makes everything easier, always your environment. And I don't know, I just kind of just done them. Just they're there, do them. Like it's kind of fun. It's a fun thing to do. And I kind of had this. It has taken over me a little bit, but I did have this thing that what happened was that I got into pre-made covers kind of not just copying off people. What happened was that it was way back and it was right at the start. I did some commissioned work and then I do like 5 cover concepts and then they go, I'll have that one. And then you've got 4 cover concepts left. And I called it my recyclium, like recycled covers, recyclium. That's what it was. So I had those covers, but then when I started doing commissions, what happened is that I got a subscription at Shutterstock for a month, but then you got loads of images. So I'm like, well, I want to use those images. So then I had this idea, and it is bang on 2 years to the day, because I went, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 100 covers for the horror genre. And it was going to be called Subverting Genre. See, I'm still in this same frame of mind that I don't want, it has to be a black cover with a shadowy figure on. I still think like that, but so I designed these 100 covers. These 100 covers took me like 6 weeks to do. And even then I missed the like Halloween thing. I don't know. But then I did this thing and I put them up and I was like, no, I'm quite proud of that. I did 100 covers and I'd put them on for like, I think it was either $65 or $75. This is worth $65 or $75. No, it must have been 60. And they went on with my recycled. So I had about 100 covers just sat there. And then what happened is I designed a few more in the November and it got to December and I was like, I need somebody for Christmas presents for my family. So I went, I'll sell my covers at half price, put them on for $30. All of them, like pretty much all of them, bar like 3 or 4 sold out. And I was like, there's something about it. $60 isn't the right price. $30 is the right price. And then I just went, right, I'm going to churn that. I'm going to do loads, churn loads out. Just churn loads out in that December. Sold loads. Hadn't had that much sort of money in a while because I was even 3 months behind on my rent at one point that year when I was depressed. Like, I was like, there's some money to be had. So I had this attitude in my head that I was just going to destroy all the competition, not by being nasty to them or being any negative, but by putting that pressure on myself to go like, right, I'm going to be number 1 pre-made book cover seller in the world. That's what I'm going to do. And I sat there and did it over the last 2 years. So it's like...
So is that how Humble Nations was created, with 100 horror pre-made covers?
Yeah, and a few bits of, the Go On Right, yeah. Go On Right was actually another domain name I had, which was for bookmarks for writers. I don't know about this website. So I just had that domain name. So Go On Right wasn't even the idea for the name of the thing. It was just like, put them on there.
I really spent days on pre-made cover websites. It just, doing research, having a look and choosing and looking for something specific, etc. And, it was just completely different and much easier to serve and nicer. And the covers looked professional. So, I could differentiate immediately, although, I know nothing about design, but, just from the, let's say, potential customer's point of view, it was just perfect.
Yeah, I think there's and it does, the irony is here, and it's a beautiful irony, is that a good cover sells like a book. So does not like a good pre-made cover website sell the book cover? There's hang on a minute. So you've got to have, it's got to be like, it has to be nice, it has to be beautiful, it has to be a nice experience. Otherwise, it's like, it's like, do you know what I just find it odd that people wouldn't automatically do that.
So what would you like, as a last question, what would you advise to newbie writers, those who are just starting writing for Kindle?
Give me better titles. give me better titles. That's it. Just give me better titles now. There's look, it's what sells, isn't it? What sells is what sells. I can understand why. I don't know. I have there is a complete disconnect because I have a very different way of looking at my writing than they look at their writing, and that creates like an oddity. But they've got to do it their way, and I've got to do it my way. I've been writing for the last 20 years of my life. I've got three things only on Kindle. All of them are short. So I've got a pile of books that are, the one thing that happened when I moved here is I had to get a friend to have a full suitcase to bring all my notebooks here to this country. So I don't want to leave those notebooks anyway. I moved to this country. He helped me, brought those notebooks. And that's like the last 20 years of my life of craft, actual craft, writing craft. Like, I could go to any one of those books and probably take out and publish something if I could be bothered and didn't want to cringe at my old writing, but it's years and years of like
Do you read them sometimes?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course I do. The last thing I actually published was like some really old short stories from my 20s and stuff, which I picked out and thought, they're quite funny and quite interesting. But it's craft. It's like anything in life. It'd be the same advice to people who are starting out designing book covers. Put the hours in. Just put the hours in. It's simple. Don't get disheartened of where you're at in your life now, because your face will grow older, you'll get grey hair, and you'll be better at what you do. And that's the way it takes away from you, and that's the way it gives it back to you. And there's nothing much more than that in life. And then you die.
Great advice. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate.
I could have gone for longer, but I ran out of beer, so.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming over. It was just really nice.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Well, that was it for today. I truly hope that you found the interview interesting. As I already mentioned, you can find out where to get professional book covers when money is tight at www.anialexander.com/40, where you can download the free PDF and get all the details that I've prepared especially for you. Well, take care, have a nice day, don't forget to write, and I'll meet you in the next episode. Take care, bye.